264 BCE. Two empires stood on the edge of the Mediterranean, and neither one was willing to back down. On one side stood Rome, a rising land power built on iron discipline, and an army that never knew when to quit. On the other stood Carthage, a wealthy trading empire that ruled the seas like no one else, with colonies stretching from North Africa to Spain and gold flowing endlessly through its harbors. Neither side could have imagined that a fight over one small island would spiral into a war lasting over 100 years. A war so devastating it would bring Rome to the very edge of total destruction. This is the story of the Roman Punic Wars. Before we go further, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and follow along so you never miss the next chapter of this series. And I want to know, where in the world are you watching from right now? Drop your country down in the comments. I read every single one of them. It began as a local dispute over the island of Sicily, but it dragged two rising superpowers into 23 brutal years of war. Rome barely had a navy worth mentioning, but that didn't stop them for even a second. They captured a wrecked Carthaginian warship that had run aground, studied every plank and beam of it, and built an entire fleet from scratch in a matter of months, an almost unbelievable feat of ancient engineering that shocked their enemies. Their engineers even invented something called the corvus, a boarding bridge that let Roman soldiers fight sea battles the exact same way they fought on land, turning their greatest weakness into their sharpest and most unexpected weapon. The war raged for 2 decades across the waters surrounding Sicily. Fleets were destroyed by violent storms, ripped apart by ramming, and thousands of sailors on both sides never made it home to their families. Rome lost ship after ship, entire fleets swallowed whole by the sea in single afternoons, yet they kept rebuilding again and again, refusing to quit no matter the staggering cost in men and treasure. Carthage, meanwhile, relied on their far more experienced admirals and superior seamanship, fully expecting Rome to eventually break under the pressure. It never did. In 241 BCE, at the decisive Battle of the Aegates Islands, Rome finally crushed Carthage's navy for good. Carthage, broke and utterly exhausted from decades of relentless war, was forced to surrender. Sicily became Rome's first overseas province, the very first seat of an empire that would one day stretch across 3 entire continents. Carthage didn't sit back and accept this humiliating defeat quietly. Denied Sicily and stripped of its navy, they turned their ambitions towards Spain instead, building fresh wealth from its rich silver mines and raising powerful new armies from its fierce local tribes. Among the next generation of Carthaginian leaders was a boy named Hannibal, son of the legendary general Hannibal Barca. Legend says his father took him to a temple as a small child and made him swear a sacred oath before the gods to never be a friend to Rome and to spend his entire life fighting the empire that had humiliated his people. That single oath would go on to change the entire course of ancient history. This is the moment Hannibal became an immortal legend. In 218 BCE, he did something absolutely no one thought was humanly possible. He led an army of nearly 40,000 men, along with a squadron of war elephants, across the freezing, treacherous peaks of the Alps and straight into Italy itself. Sudden blizzards, deadly landslides, and ambushes from hostile mountain tribes cost him thousands of soldiers and almost all of his elephants along the brutal 15-day crossing. But he made it through. And once inside Italy, he unleashed a level of devastation Rome had genuinely never experienced on its own home soil before. At the Trebia River, then at Lake Trasimene, and finally at the infamous Battle of Cannae in 216 BCE, Hannibal delivered Rome its most catastrophic military defeats in its entire history. At Cannae alone, Rome lost as many as 50,000 soldiers in a single horrifying day, one of the single deadliest battles in all of ancient warfare, a number so massive it stunned the entire ancient world into silence. Rome was left on its knees. Any other nation on earth would have surrendered on the spot without question. But Rome simply refused to break. Under a general named Fabius, they changed their entire strategy. Avoid open battle at all costs, wear Hannibal down slowly, cut off his supply lines, and bleed him gradually instead of risking total annihilation in one more fight. It was slow, deeply unpopular, and painful for such a proud nation to accept, but it worked exactly as intended. Hannibal could win every single battle and still somehow lose the entire war, trapped deep in enemy territory for over a decade, with no fresh reinforcements ever arriving from Carthage back home. If this story has you hooked so far, make sure to like this video and hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps this channel keep telling incredible stories just like this one. And don't forget to comment your country down below. I absolutely love watching this community grow from every single corner of the world. While Hannibal remained stuck fighting in Italy, a brilliant young Roman general named Scipio had a daring and unconventional idea. Stop playing defense entirely, and instead attack Carthage directly on its own home soil in Africa. The gamble worked perfectly. Hannibal was forced to abandon Italy after 16 long years and rush home across the sea to protect his own city from total destruction. In 202 BCE, the two greatest military minds of their entire generation finally clashed head-on at the Battle of Zama. Scipio had spent years studying every one of Hannibal's tactics, learning carefully from Rome's past defeats, and this time he arrived with a counter ready for every single move. Rome won the battle decisively. Carthage was forced to surrender completely, lost its entire navy, agreed to pay crushing war reparations for the next 50 years, and gave up all of its overseas territories forever. Rome now stood alone as the dominant power of the entire Mediterranean world. Hannibal, defeated but never once captured, spent his final years wandering in exile and would eventually take his own life rather than be handed over to his sworn enemies. Stripped completely of its army and navy, Carthage tried quietly to rebuild itself as a simple trading city. No longer any kind of threat, just a survivor clinging desperately to what little remained. But Rome never truly forgot the deep fear that Hannibal had once caused across the entire empire. A powerful senator named Cato the Elder became utterly obsessed with Carthage's very existence, ending every single speech he gave in the Senate with one chilling, repeated phrase: "Carthage must be destroyed." In 149 BCE, Rome finally found its excuse and laid a devastating siege to the city. With almost no army left to defend itself, Carthage fought back with pure, raw desperation, melting down bronze statues to forge new weapons, women cutting off their own hair to make bowstrings, holding out against impossible odds for 3 brutal years straight. But in 146 BCE, the city's ancient walls finally fell. What followed was one of the most ruthless acts recorded in all of ancient history. The entire city was burned to ashes over 17 relentless days, its people killed or sold into slavery, and its name nearly erased from history altogether. Carthage, once Rome's greatest and most feared rival, ceased to exist entirely. The Mediterranean now belonged to Rome alone, an empire forged not just through raw military strength, but through an absolute refusal to ever accept defeat, no matter the staggering cost. The Punic Wars weren't simply battles fought over land and territory. They decided the entire future direction of the Western world as we know it. If Hannibal had succeeded in his campaign, history itself might look completely unrecognizable today. Instead, Rome's hard-fought survival paved the way for centuries of dominance. Its language, its laws, and its culture spreading across continents, an influence that still quietly shapes our modern world today. That's the complete story of 264 BCE, the war that nearly destroyed Rome forever. If you made it all the way to the end, you clearly love history as much as I do. So do me one favor, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and follow this channel so you never miss the next episode in this series. And please, comment down below and tell me exactly which country you're watching from tonight. I read every single one of them, and I'll see you in the next episode.